Okay, so what is going on with Doge? And I'm not talking about the crypto. I'm talking about the Department of Government Efficiency. We're going to get into some of the top tech news stories this week, including Doge and what's happened there with Elon and Vivek with that new initiative. OpenAI has launched new agents. How is that going to work, and what impact is that going to have on the tech workforce? And finally, Amazon's got some real competitive threats. We got Shein and Temu and Amazon launching an entirely new product line to compete with them. I'm Justin. I'm here with TW. We are two guys who've been in the tech industry for about 30 years, non technical background experience. We worked at companies like Twitch and Discord, Zynga, Microsoft, and a host of others. We try to give practical advice and our experience in the space. Let's jump into these news headlines.
3, 2, 1, go!
It's just kind of a rapid fire of some of the things that are happening. So, you can't talk about kind of the tech ecosystem news this week without talking about Doge. And I'm not talking about, Dogecoin or the cryptocurrency. I'm talking about literally the Department of Government Efficiency that somehow kind of Elon has kind of snuck into there with all of the kind of goodwill that he's acquired from Trump, probably based on helping give him like hundreds of millions of dollars. But in any event, so former President Trump proposed, initiative to curb federal spending by appointing Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead this new organization called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. It's not an official government department, but it was proposed as basically an advisory group to identify and slash wasteful expenditures, reduce bureaucracy, and propose some like sweeping reforms. And I'd love to have you, T-Dub, talk about kind of like one of the sweeping reform pieces that's in there. It's kind of wild. But essentially the mandate and goals of DOGE is to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. Some of you may have kind of seen or heard about this, targeting overlapping agencies and inefficiencies. And basically Musk and Ramaswamy have proposed drastic changes to cut federal agency spending and reduce regulatory burdens. So the big controversy around all this, as you might imagine, is critics argue, hey, do they actually have like formal authority? Because Congress controls federal spending. And then experts question, Musk's claim to find like significant savings in all these different departments and citing that much of the federal budget is mandatory, and it'll be difficult to kind of do this without legislative approval, especially with it not being a formal agency. And there's also kind of like the impact of the bureaucracy. So like this initiative has drawn a lot of attention for its kind of shock change approach, which again, T-Dub, it's coming up that he's going to talk about one of the changes that they're thinking about. But the rhetoric, including, mass deportations of bureaucrats and the feasibility of that has definitely been something that, people are kind of skeptical of what's going to happen. So overall, it's a very ambitious, polarizing vision for federal reform. I think this plays into kind of how Trump sees his new administration and coming in. And that could really potentially do well, relative to kind of what Musk is focusing on, of kind of blending his penchant for disruptive innovation with Trump's political priorities. And we'll just see what impact this ultimately makes. But that was definitely one of the top stories of the week. What do you think, Tito?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I heard through the grapevine about Vivek, and somebody sent me some clips about him. I didn't know a ton, but he mentioned on a podcast, and I'll link it here.
Get in there on day one. Say that anybody in the federal bureaucracy who is not elected representatives obviously are elected by the people, but of the people who are not elected, if your social security number ends in an odd number, you're out. If it ends in an even number, you're in. There's a 50% cut right there.
I'm just going to cut everything in half and see where the chips fall, because his thought was like, you're going to lose half the good people and half the bad people. You're going to lose half of, they're like all the claims, like you're going to side with one political party and not another, and you're going to get rid of things that you're going to be biased. He's like, I'm removing all the bias. I'm making it completely random. I'm going to just remove half the people based on an odd, and then he thought his assumption was that's probably, we're not going to feel that in the actual everyday lives. So after a while, after the dust settles, he will then cut another half by the opposite, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get rid of the people whose social security numbers are even at the start of the first number." And then he's like, then we can start. Then we can talk about how to make it more efficient after I do a couple of these rounds of cuts. And that's, I mean, it's crazy to think about. But like, if you're talking speed and fairness, I mean, it doesn't get more fair and quick than looking at your social security number to decide whether or not you're going to keep working in your job. Which, say what you want. I mean, if they're really going to go that route, it's going to be jarring, and it's going to be wild. But like, maybe it works. I'm fingers crossed that it does. But what are your thoughts on hearing that?
Yeah,
Justin?
well, my first thought on this is, people are kind of just trying to get headlines, right? Folks are trying to stay relevant, and what better way to do that than to just say, just kind of crazy stuff, which I can understand the intentionality behind the thinking behind it, but maybe I'm just not cynical enough about the government, to really get behind a very kind of Thanos snap, type of type of approach to how we deal with our government. I think there are definitely areas that could be more efficient, but I don't think it's so bad that it should be that arbitrary. I also think of kind of the human impact of the people whose jobs we lost, who are doing a great job, and just how it would disrupt the overall economy and people who are in these roles. And I just think that's almost too random. So that's I'm always up for creative problem solving, but I think that is more just like headline grabbing than something that's actually going to result in better outcomes for everyone. So that's what makes me more skeptical about it.
So if we think that's his strategy, Elon, let's just look at X when he cut that down from thousands of employees down to however many it is now, like 50. That I heard from people who had worked there that it was first round. He just said, "Hey, anybody who wants to leave, here's the severance package, take it or leave it." And a bunch of people took it. And he kind of narrowed it down pretty quickly just based off of that. And then he had very demanding needs in terms of like hours and being in the office, and that weeded a bunch of people out. And then apparently he's had a meeting at like midnight or 1 a.m.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, everybody, let's go meet in this office." And then the people that showed up waited and nobody came. And then apparently a few hours later, a bunch of people left, and then the meeting started at maybe 3 hours late, 3 or 4 in the morning. And then it was, anyone who's not in this meeting is fired. And that was kind of how he did his rant. Like, it's not random. He's like, "Hey, if you're not willing to really be diehard and sit here and wait all night for the meeting to start, then this is not for you." Which, say what you want, that's kind of wild and crazy. But he turned that company around. I mean, it's still around.
Like, listen,
but,
I'll give Elon all the respect on SpaceX and Tesla and Boring Company and Neuralink, and I think a lot of tremendous strides have been made of those, and a lot of good will occur in the world because of it. What he did with Twitter, I mean, I don't know, man. The time that I spend on there now, and I'm still trying to get, my kernels of startup and VC insights, but what I have to go through to kind of get there. And I'm not just talking about, difference in political beliefs, whatever that is, but there's just like a lot of crap on X right now. And that's why, frankly, not one of the articles we have in here now, but Blue Sky has been really getting a lot of traction. They had like 1 million users in the last 24 hours, and Threads has been stealing a lot of share. I think that's going to continue to happen. So he cut down the cost a lot, but like relative to the revenue they're making and relative to the number of users who are leaving, I don't think that ultimately worked out, at least right now. But listen, he got a bunch of other bets and that are doing super well. So, hey, you win some, you lose some, and he's the richest person in the world, so he can take that L and do it maybe happily. And maybe he still got like what he was able to get from the benefit of leveraging it as a platform to help his political aims, and having getting on kind of the good side of Trump. Maybe ultimately that was worth $40 billion. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, my thought was more, he did make it more efficient, right? He's operating with a skeleton crew at I guess it's now X, it's not Twitter. But like, service level hasn't really dried. Still works. It's not very friendly to go into to X. It just like there's so much junk in there that's being surfaced, but like, hey, the thing works. Like that's all I meant in terms of like he got it going. It's very efficient in terms of the number of people that are working on it and what it produces. Because truthfully, before that, how many huge features did Twitter launch, and how many things, given the number of people, it kind of it was definitely felt bloated that he could do that. So that's
I agree. I agree with that point generally around like the efficiency of like tech company, him proving that tech companies didn't need to be as large as they are. And I think we're seeing the cascading effect of that, which is basically once people saw Elon do it, everybody started, cutting in Silicon Valley. There's been kind of a lot of, it's just like a challenging environment now in the Valley because a lot of companies are kind of cutting down the number of people who are at these jobs. And then you have the compounding impact of generative AI and just, needing fewer people to kind of do some of these roles. So I think it's just kind of, he's brought in an era of efficiency, which depending on which side you are, kind of like the business owner or coworker of that, you probably have differing opinions on how well that's worked out or not. But he's definitely kind of led the charge on the efficiency piece for sure.
Yeah. No, that's if that's what he's going to do to the government, it's going to be scary. But we'll see. I mean, like you said, I don't know if he's going to have the authority.
Organization.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to have the authority to do that. He'll make the suggestion, and who knows what if it'll actually go down. But it'll be an interesting ride to see what happens. Like, is mail going to stop one day because my post office social security number is an odd number? I have no idea. But
we're gonna find out, man. We're gonna find out all this. Get your popcorn. We'll find out together. Get your popcorn out. We'll find out together.
Love it.
So more news that's kind of interesting this week. OpenAI is launching an agent tool. So basically, it's the tool is codenamed Operator, and in January, it's designed to perform complex multi-step tasks on users' behalf. So it will initially launch as kind of like a research preview that's accessible as an API via API for developers, and then ultimately this agentic AI can handle tasks like writing code or booking travel. And kind of marks OpenAI's entry into the growing competition for AI tools that act autonomously with minimal user supervision. There have been some strides, I think, from Anthropic on this as well as Google with Gemini. So we'll have to see that space. And for those of you who are kind of like, what is an AI agent, just in basic terms? So think of an agent as a computer program that can act on its own to perform tasks for a person. So I've provided some examples, but basically, it understands what needs to be done. It can make decisions, and then it can take actions to complete those decisions with little to no help from a user. So an example would be booking a flight, sending emails on your behalf, organizing files on your computer. It's like having a smart assistant that can help run, handle multiple step jobs for you. And I think this is like a new approach in terms of how they're developing their kind of chat interfaces, et cetera, using this agentic model that a lot of the other AI companies are doing as well. So it kind of seems aligned and on trend. What do you think about, these agents, and are you excited to use them, or just any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I could see how this is going to really help companies and the end user with training is probably going to reap the benefits of this. It seems like America has outsourced a ton of this already, so it's an issue, and people want 24-hour service nowadays. So it makes total sense. I'm excited to see how it rolls out, how it does. I don't know how great it's going to be from a user experience out of the gate, but I'm hoping it improves, right? Because if it's AI and it learns quickly, and we'll see. Like, from the leaps and bounds we've seen so far, I'm cautiously optimistic about the advantages of this.
Yeah. So I think very, very cool strides. Again, everything is moving so fast. I just kind of get whiplash every week on how quickly things are changing. And I know, like, Sam had an interview recently with Gary Tan about when we can expect AGI to occur, and he seems to think that can be kind of next year or within 2 years. So that seems kind of crazy to me because I feel like you need a lot more data in the physical world to truly do it. Obviously, we have like a lot of strides in kind of the digital world and internet data, et cetera. But just a really exciting space for us to continue to watch. And so, the last topic that I want to cover quickly was Amazon. And so,
Yes.
Amazon has been under a lot of pressure from an e-commerce perspective with some of these entrants from Asian markets, particularly kind of Shein and Temu. And so, to combat against that, Amazon recently launched a new digital storefront called Amazon Hall, and that's to directly compete with fast fashion, low cost retailers like Shein and Temu and TikTok Shop even. The platform offers affordable items such as clothing, electronics, home goods. Most of it's priced like under $10 with a cap of $20. However, delivery items can take longer, from 1 to 2 weeks, because the products are shipped directly from Chinese warehouses. So they're kind of employing the same model. And I guess they're just using like the benefit of their existing ecosystem within the US and their brand to kind of differentiate. And then items under $3 are non-refundable, and orders over $25 would apply for free shipping. So this is very interesting because it models this kind of new way of getting products in the hands of consumers. That's kind of taking this, this Asian model. If you look at Temu's growth, they really aggressively grown. I think it's like 51 million monthly US users Temu has, and then Shein has generated $22 billion of revenue in 2022. So these are not small upstarts. These are true competitive threats. So it's very interesting to see Amazon come into the space and try to implement a model that directly competes with them now.
Yeah, it makes sense because Amazon's always done the prime piece, and then the lower cost items are kind of loss leaders, and now creating a sort of subcategory for all of them, and making them a separate business, really smart. I think it's going to do really well, depending on how they integrate it. Because I will say, Temu, the gamification of all of their stuff is pretty incredible. So we'll see.
They definitely do.
I'm curious as how it's going to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's just fascinating that they see it as enough of a threat to like be doing kind of like press releases that are around it and literally using that model, because I feel like a lot of times they're at the forefront of kind of the innovation within the e-commerce space, and then other companies have been kind of fast followers. So I think about the relationship between them and Walmart e-commerce, for example, and even Target and others that were kind of like behind and had to catch up. So it's interesting now that these Asian models are kind of becoming another kind of gold standard for how to do some delivery based on consumer trends, and now they're having to kind of create a competitor to compete with them. So it's an interesting flip of how that model has worked.
I was going to throw one more topic
ahead
on here. I don't know if you've heard about this. Sega has announced a new product that's like a sidekick in a pager. I think it's called Emojam, where it's got basically you can send up to 5 emojis. It's got 1,400 of them loaded in there, and you can just communicate through emojis, I guess, in a short form sort of way. What do you think about this? Is it a possibility of communication?
I think that what I think back to is kind of when I was younger, how Tamagotchis were really big, and that now in that context you were kind of taking care of a digital pet, but I think it's a similar. I think I know what you're talking about. It's kind of a similar hardware looking device and form factor, and it's kind of like digital and quirky looking like that. I think people are trying to get back to nostalgia. I think people are trying to find new ways to communicate that don't feel as soul sucking as kind of like being in our phones, and obviously there's a lot of creativity there, but it's just like people don't feel like it's a net positive experience for health and for mental and physical health otherwise. So I think companies are going to continue to like explore here. There was that other device like Rabbit, I think it was called. There was one Rabbit, and then there was that other one of that company. What was the company that I think that maybe either be shutting down or raised all that money? I'm forgetting the name of the company that raised all that money to have a pin of all this kind of like wearable
pin
hardware
thing,
stuff. Yeah, the AI pin stuff. So I think companies are trying to figure out, hey, is there something within this hardware space to compete and to create something that consumers would actually use? I think yet to be seen how to do that in a way that's outside of just kind of like a novelty. So I still think the phone is like the best form factor, and I think AR and VR, all the headsets and devices are just not there and won't be there for some time. So I don't see anything replacing it, but I think it's cool that people are, trying these new devices and, just see how well it performs in the market.
I mean, I'm looking forward to when they remake The Wire and this thing makes an appearance and how drug dealers use it. But we'll see.
Yeah, right. I would be trying to crack all these codes. Oh, that's so funny.
Right. No, that's it.
Yeah,
it's coming. But every week we're coming at you with topical things like this. If you like it, subscribe below, give us comments on what you want to hear. We appreciate you guys jumping on. Anything else, Justin?
No, I just want to echo that. We have a lot of folks who kind of reach out to us outside of the pod, comments and suggestions, etc. And that's awesome. We love that. But feel free to throw them in the episode. We really do look at those and try to respond back with feedback. And we're really trying to get to a place where we enjoy doing this every week, and we know there are a number of people who do as well. But we're trying to grow our audience and just create content that feels meaningful. So, and also help the community as well. I think we always say that, and we really do mean it. So, if you have any ideas around that,
maybe we try another giveaway soon. I think I've heard that suggestion thrown out. We need to try a more substantial giveaway. So maybe we'll riff on that, and then we can report back out like how we're gonna do it. If you have suggestions, throw it below. If you've seen some other channels do it well, let us know, and we'll go from there.
Always a pleasure. And super fun.
Peace.
3, 2, 1, go!